Now, if you're someone that is interested in implementing kettlebell training into your strength program, then stay tuned, because in today's video, I wanted to show you what I believe the top 5 exercises that all beginners should be working on. Welcome back, guys. It's Dr. Mike, and I'm a physical therapist providing tips on how to build strength and longevity with your body. Now, if you follow my channel, you know that I have posted previous videos on how to perform specific exercises or how to strength train using kettlebells. And I greatly believe that kettlebells can be a valuable tool and cost-effective tool that you can use to help build strength. Now, essentially, why would we use kettlebells? Kettlebells allow us to add load to the exercise. So when body weight exercise become too easy, this is where kettlebells can be an easy way that you can start to load a lot of the exercises. Many people, however, are very intimidated when they start to add in some weight into the exercises. So I thought that this video would be extremely helpful for any beginner out there that is looking to add in some kettlebell training. This is a great way that you can easily and safely start to perform some of these kettlebell exercises. So right here I have a 35-pound kettlebell, and this is, I would say, a moderate weight to start with that you can perform a lot of these exercises that we're gonna get into in a bit. But just know, when you're training your upper body, you're most likely gonna need a lighter kettlebell, which is normally gonna run anywhere between 10 to maybe even 40 to 50 pounds. And then when you start training your legs, you're gonna obviously need something more heavier to train with. So maybe 50, anywhere to maybe even 80 pounds of a kettlebell. Now, right now, that sounds a bit heavy for you if you're listening now, but just know that our legs are our stronger muscles. We typically can lift more weight. So if you're looking into investing in some kettlebells, I usually recommend getting a lighter weight for your upper body and then a heavier weight with the lower body. So let's get into the first exercise, which I believe is essential for all beginners. And this is simply a shoulder press. And we're doing this with a single arm. And we're gonna start this exercise by holding the kettlebell in this front rack position. Front rack basically just means that that kettlebell is in front of my chest versus out here to the side, okay? I'm more stable and I'm stronger, and I can use my core muscles when I have my hands close to my chest, just like so. Now, using the kettlebell, also know that the kettlebell is resting on my arm there, my forearm muscles there, okay? I'm not bringing my wrist back like that and extending my wrist, because that's not gonna feel comfortable. So I'm almost as if I'm making a fist and I'm keeping it nice and close to my body here. So we're gonna work on that shoulder press, and all you're gonna simply do, and I'm gonna show you from the side, is you're gonna tighten your abdominal muscles. Imagine your rib cage coming closer down towards your belt line. So you're staying nice and tight, and you're gonna press all the way to the ceiling, extending that arm up and overhead, and then lowering back down. I usually like to perform anywhere between 8 to 12 reps with this exercise, a couple sets on each side. And you can really focus on locking out that elbow at the top, trying to keep your abs engaged, not overextending your lower back just like so, but really staying tight and controlling the movement. That's what's really important with these kettlebells. You can get the most bang for your buck is if you really focus on controlling the movement. Also notice that my elbow is at an angle, so I'm not out here to the side, I'm not in front, but I'm actually at an angle, and I'm just pressing up towards the ceiling. Remember, if this is challenging for you, start off with a lighter weight. And then as you get better and feel more comfortable with performing 8 to 12 reps at a time on each side, then you can start to add more weight. And you can do this exercise simply sitting down on a bench. You can do this standing, which is what I personally prefer. Or you can even do this as a Z press, which I've made in a previous video that I'll link up here, which is extremely difficult exercise, but is a great exercise to challenge your core and your upper body. But essentially your legs are more straddled on the ground, and that just levels up this exercise even more. So the shoulder press is a great exercise for upper body strength, shoulders, and really start to get a lot of that development in your arms there. All right, so the next exercise we're gonna get into is the suitcase carry. This is a great exercise that I believe is very functional and can really assist with building grip strength, which we know correlates well with longevity and your fitness. And we definitely want to perform this exercise as well because it's functional in the sense that most of the activities that we do, we're carrying objects. Just like if we were going to the grocery store, we're carrying grocery bags in and out of our car. A lot of those bags are uneven, so it really forces you to use your own postural and core muscles to stay upright. And this is why if we train this pattern, it makes those activities a lot easier. So the suitcase carry, also known as the farmer carry is when you have one kettlebell in each hand. But for the purpose of this video, we're just going to use one kettlebell. So we're going to do a suitcase carry. So that means we just have the weight in one side. And simply, you can walk around your home. You can measure out, 20 to 30 feet going back and forth. And you're holding that kettlebell down at your side, not allowing it to pull you forward or not allowing it to pull you to the side. So you're resisting using all of the contralateral musculature of the core of the lower back. These are the muscles that are opposing this motion. The weight is wanting to pull you down. You're trying to stay as upright as possible. And you're going to feel this when you start performing this. The heavier the weight this is, the more you're going to have to resist that motion, okay? So that suitcase carries, you're simply going to stand up nice and tall and you're going to walk, making sure that we're not getting a lot of rotation or movement through the spine. So essentially, our core is working isometrically to stay nice and tight so we can perform this exercise with proper form. Now, the best part about this suitcase carry is you can level up this exercise by working on a front rack carry and even an overhead carry. And I've also posted a video in the past on some of my favorite carries that you can really use to spice up this movement. But just know, farmer carry is such a great exercise for building raw strength. Make sure to train both sides for a couple sets on each side. If you follow my channel quite some time, that I absolutely love the kettlebell for building leg strength. And this is where the goblet squat can be a great exercise for you to implement because it's completely safe. And the best part about this is even though I'm going to show you this without a bench or a chair behind me, if you're just starting off with this exercise, you might start off with sitting down into a chair so you're not squatting down as low. So I'm going to assume that most of us are comfortable with squatting and maybe the chair has been too easy for us. So now we're moving on to something a little more challenging. So you're essentially going to take this kettlebell and you can really hold this kettlebell however you want. By the handle here, I've seen some people hold it upside down. I get a good hold of it just by holding the handles just like so. I'm going to keep the weight close to my chest and I'm going to show you from the side here. We're going to get in our typical squat stance. So about hip width apart here, feet slightly turn outward, okay? And now I'm going to think about reaching my hips backwards and downward. So not just straight down because that's what most people do and that's why they have more knee pain with this exercise. But you're thinking about reaching the hips almost like you're sitting back into a chair, back and down. And when you're starting with this exercise, the depth of your squat obviously will dictate how hard this is going to be. The lower you go, the harder this exercise is going to be. Obviously, if you have access to some of that range of motion in your hips and ankles, you'll be able to achieve this successfully. If you don't, you might start off by working on some mini squats. So that may mean you're just working on sitting back and there's your height right there that's comfortable for you. And then you're going to stand up. The most important part in this movement is not just backwards into that end range depth, but also standing up all the way at the top, really locking out those glutes and standing up tall. And do not let that kettlebell get too far away from you because that is going to cause unnecessary stress on the arms and the shoulders. This is not an upper body exercise. This is a core and lower body exercise. So make sure that you keep it nice and close to your body. And with this exercise, anywhere between 2 to 3 sets, 10 to 15 reps at a time. All right, so the next exercise that we're going to get into is the single leg deadlift. And I actually believe that the single leg deadlift has a lot more benefits to training than the traditional regular deadlifts. Most people also have more of a challenging time performing the deadlift because there's so many mechanics and technique that you really have to be strict about to prevent yourself from getting injured. So that's why I chose the single leg Romanian deadlift because this allows you to, one, go lighter and really helps individuals focus on their coordination and their balance, which I know for all of us is very important as we get older. We want to make sure that we continue to do exercises that are training our balance. So the single leg RDL, or Romanian deadlift, there is essentially going to start by in the staggered stance here. So you have most of your weight on this front leg here. And now I have the kettlebell in the opposite hand. So I've seen exercises done with the kettlebell on the same side. I preferably like the opposite side because it keeps your body squared. It keeps you from leaning over to one side. Now with that back leg, you're gonna hover it over the ground and you're gonna have a soft bend in that front leg, okay? Soft knee bend there, okay? Then you're gonna lower the kettlebell straight over the toe, and then you're gonna use your glutes and your hamstrings to stand all the way to the top. You're gonna notice a lot of the posterior chain muscles in the quads working hard, and you're gonna notice your feet working hard because they are keeping you balanced. If you don't have good balance with your feet, you're gonna notice that you're gonna just fall right over. So this really challenges your stability with your feet and your strength in your feet, okay? So when you're performing this, once again, you'll let that leg hover behind you, lower back down all the way to that front leg, and then come back up. If we demonstrate this exercise from this side, I'm gonna move the kettlebell in the opposite side, okay? I'm in this staggered stance. I'm gonna lower down back behind me and then come back, okay? If you find that your balance is maybe not good enough, I've showed this in the past of the kickstand exercise. That back leg in the kickstand exercise just gives you a little bit more stability and removes your balance from the exercise. So the same exercise, rather than hovering that back leg up, you can just keep it posted on the ground with that back leg on your toes. And now you're simply just working on still doing the same thing, taking that kettlebell all the way to the opposite foot, just like that. And you're gonna feel a lot of the posterior chain muscles really working hard. And this is a great exercise to start adding in that hinging pattern that we typically teach that is extremely functional for movement. All right, so the last exercise that we are gonna cover is the Russian swing. Now, the Russian swing is simply similar to a kettlebell swing. It's a powerful and explosive exercise that I believe is a valuable tool for many people to use. And it is extremely safe because now instead of doing a regular kettlebell swing, you don't have to go all the way up overhead, but now you just have to go to eye level. So it eliminates your risk of injuring your shoulder and really allows you to get the benefits of that powerful movement through our hips. The exercise is driven by the hips, and that's the main focus when we're performing this exercise. So what I'll do is I'll place that weight in front of me just like so, and I kind of have a wide base of support, because if you're too narrow, this is going to be a typical exercise for you and you're going to fall over. So a wide base of support with your feet basically slightly turned out just like so, and the kettlebell is out in front of me. Now, to kind of get an understanding of what position you want to be in for these swings, if you just bend over and put your hands on your knees, this is that position that you essentially want to be in when you're swinging. So notice my hips are backward and my shins are vertical, okay? So they're not completely straight up and down, but we're getting all of the drive through our hips, and we're really trying to sit back instead of doing like a squat where you notice now my shins start to kind of come forward and they're not straight up and down. So what you're doing is you'll go ahead and grab that kettlebell by hinging at the hips. So you're reaching those hips backward, and now you're gonna stand up, and the kettlebell kind of moves as a pendulum, okay? I'm using my hips to drive the momentum of the kettlebell and the weight forward. You're gonna feel the weight pull you back, so you're gonna take that weight and kind of bring it in underneath your legs there, okay, by reaching your hips back, and then you're gonna explode up by standing all the way up to the top, okay? So like I said, imagining as if it's like a pendulum, you're letting your hips do the work, and you're hinging and opening up, hinging and then opening up. So if I show you this in a fast pace, I'm gonna grab the kettlebell, we're hinging, and as I get faster or more efficient with this movement, I can create more power and more explosiveness by really powering my hips and opening up my hips at the top, that's gonna allow the kettlebell to move faster. And another thing that I'm doing that's not often talked about is my grip. I'm keeping it very close to my body. I'm not letting it just flare out in front of me. Notice if I wasn't conscious about keeping it close, you'll see people just kind of throw it out and they kind of dangle it out in front of them, versus if I'm intentional about how tight I'm holding the kettlebell and I really focus on keeping my lats engaged and keeping my back muscles engaged, you'll feel that exercise even activate a lot of the upper back muscles there. So when I'm doing these, I really believe in more volume with these reps. Maybe 8 to 10 reps won't be challenging enough. So when I'm performing the swings, I'll usually do anywhere between 3 to 4 sets of about 15 to 20 reps at a time. There you have it, guys. Those are my top 5 exercises that I believe are simple but also essential for all beginners. Now, if you want more information on how to implement kettlebell training, check out the other videos I made here on my channel. In the meantime, to support this channel, you can subscribe, hit that like button below, and I'll see you in the next one.